Hello, welcome to the 8th of April. It's 1:43 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. I'm in my garage. It's beautiful outside. It's around 60 degrees, and it looks like we're gonna get snow in the next couple of days. So, this is what you call a weather tease for people like me, because the inclination is to go outside and just tear up your yard and start preparing it for planting and just being cleaned up for the summer. But it's not suggested in my area that happen for another month because of all the little critters that live under the debris and all that. I want to welcome you to this impromptu little session here. The sounds that you will hear in the background come from Alessandro Murasu. This is from his album Stances Lost in the Bathroom. This is recent this year, 2020, and he only put it out on the 3rd of April, so it's very fresh. You should enjoy it. Hopefully it'll be a nice ambiance. You will also be getting the sounds of the road next to me. While many other places in the United States are in a lockdown of sorts, I haven't necessarily seen much of a change in the traffic down the road that I live on. It's a pretty busy road. A main thoroughfare, you might say. Much hasn't changed. I've seen more people walking their dogs, though. That's cool. I should probably make an effort to do that. All right. I hope that you're fine with my unprofessionalism, because I don't really care. What do I want to talk about? I need to see what I was looking at, and that will tell me more about what I want to say, I think. In my personal life, I'm really trying to talk to people about how conflicting all of the information is that is coming in to us, and that we need to use our logical minds, our rational minds, our experiences to basically weigh out what is true and what is false right now. I feel happy, I guess, to be in the state of Wyoming. And I've never been very up on it. There was always this element, right, that felt like it was missing because I wanted more sociability, I wanted more things to do and stuff. But I can't think of any other place I'd rather be at this point than where I'm at right now. And the build-up for all of this, honestly, in my opinion, I've heard about for a very long time. And so when the winds changed to bring me back home, it wasn't what I wanted to do. It was what I knew I had to do. And it's been really, really tough. It's really tough. And I think that if people are all kind of starting to experience what this experience has been for me in isolation with an elderly person, then I think that they've got a lot of waves to work through that are going to be incremental and come up over time. This morning, I woke up and the first words out of my mouth were, why the fuck is it that I am always waking up to either a dog barking or a door slamming? See, I don't have to use an alarm to get up in my situation, so it's not that noise. But there are these other noises that are perpetuated within my home sphere. And it sucks not to just be able to wake up because you're choosing to wake up instead of being abruptly shaken awake kind of thing. And with people being used to living on such normal cycles, this might be something that comes up within the home sphere. Because I have never said anything about it out loud to anybody who might be offending me in the realm. Because it's the choices that they make on how hard they want to close a door, or if they want to put the dog who's blind in front of the front door and he can't see anything, so he barks at everything. Those are choices another individual is making that bring me abruptly back to waking. I'm pretty sure when I said that out loud this morning, it was heard on the other side of the door. And then I noticed that there was a concerted effort to move the dog and to shut the doors more quietly. But by that point, I was already like, all right, I'm up, waking up with a fiery attitude and how that can affect your whole day. Living with someone who's elderly, my grandma, she's kind of losing her mind and has slowly been losing her mind over time. With this, she picks up on kind of psychic residue. And she's her worst critic. Nobody tells her that she's bad or shameful, but she feels it for herself. And it's sad. And there's nothing we can do about it. We can tell her we love her. We can tell her she's smart and wonderful. But she sits there beating herself up in her own brain. And we can't fix that. And as her mental capacities diminish, it seems like whatever part of the brain that is most critical of herself is going to be one of the last things to keep her alive and fight. It's very, very strange to see such personal conflict in people. Sorry about that. That was loud noise. That was me being sloppy. Alright, so we had one person watching at one point, but now not so much. That's alright. This is my stream and I can talk as long as I want to. Let's see here. Check my channel here. See. It's so dumb having two devices right next to each other just to monitor what I'm doing. I mean, this is not easy. I'm pretending to have a radio show in these hard times. Yes, live watcher now. If I click on it. So I called my dad this morning and was kind of just checking in, seeing what they're doing. They're all about the home improvements. They live out in the country, so there's always something to do. And they're keeping their heads on and they're getting their work done. And I'm gonna have feedback. Yep. Okay. All right. Stop. All right. I can't help but think that my dad probably thinks that I sound like a crazy person on the phone. Because I jumped around to a lot of different topics and how it's all kind of relatable. I couldn't hear half of what he was saying because he was working while he was trying to talk on the phone, so it wasn't even near his face. But I was like, hey, the weather is so nice right now. Are you gonna go take a motorcycle ride? Because he's a motorcycle enthusiast, a Harley rider, and well, I think he has a Victory now. Um, and they're just so focused on what's going on at work, and the wind sucks here, that he's not thinking about riding. And I'm like, man, this is kind of the perfect time to go for a ride, don't you think? I mean, in certain areas, there's going to be far less traffic because, you know, they're not going to come to town to ride around. They would go out toward the mountains, the hills. And I don't know. If I could get enough time away from my house during a day, that's definitely the direction that I would drive. I'm just saying. What else is happening? Nobody wants to tune into this, apparently. I don't blame you. It's a shit show. But the music's good. Okay. Let's see here. As we collectively realize that our world is never going to go back to the way it was, it's that this impact is impossible to recover from on some level. It's interesting to wonder where it can go or where it will go from here. I've been talking about this a lot for the last couple weeks, how it feels like we're just like riding the edge of a blade. We don't know which way we're going to fall, and we know that we can't stay on the edge of the blade forever, right? Bible talks about don't be hot or cold, pick a side, don't be in the gray. But if you're honest with yourself, this is a really gray period of time. And I'm trying to wonder the greater context of it in the sense of picking sides. Because all the time we're being asked to pick sides and to label ourselves, put ourselves in boxes, and go through this whole rigmarole of defining ourselves as something, right? And right now, it's this choice of, are you going to define yourself by a virus? Or are you going to be defined by a virus by having a positive or a negative test come back? In recent history, people have talked a lot about mental illness and not necessarily defining people by their mental illness, but not being ashamed of it either. All this stuff is very conflicting for the mind. And I see this as a psychological operation upon all of us that we should be paying attention to, because ultimately it's a major trauma, an unforeseen trauma being inflicted upon people because everything snapped and changed pretty quick. I mean, there was still a little slow rollout, but that slow rollout was only a week, 2 weeks. And then you have to figure out, for the slow rollout, the adaptive behavior. So you're adapting to how things are changing. And you're like, oh yeah, I can adapt to this. And then the idea of being locked inside your home without visiting people for a long period of time has so many repercussions of what the internal and the external, trying to get them in alignment. And that is not easy for people. Like, I would love to say I'm a champion of it, but I still have to deal with it and work with it every single day. The little things that might set you off that don't even have to do with the actual thing that triggers it. For me, I like to talk a lot. I really do. I like to have productive conversations. I don't have a lot of them. For me, with my grandma, I realized that I need to just stop saying as much. I need to draw it back. And this is kind of the idea of pick your battles. What is it worth arguing about? You know? I find that since she's caught in her own head of beating herself up, that it's best to keep my mouth shut, because the tone or the things that I say are not productive or like perceived as positive to her. And it's because I have my own frustrations and my own stress, right? We're caught in this situation of ebb and flow, and I don't want to bring my junk to the table to make her feel bad, you know? And she doesn't want to make me feel bad either, but her impulses, she's very impulsive without the grounding of what her impulsivity is about. So I don't want to provoke impulsive nature that's negative for her. Let's see. Been getting some texts here from a friend Jomo. Jordan and I tried to have a podcast. It didn't work out. He's trying to deal with his stuff. He was in Mexico before all this popped off and decided to get a flight back just as they were shutting the borders and certain flights. So, and then he was like, I wish I was still in Mexico. Where you're at is where you're at in every way, in every sense of the way right now. Where you're at mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, it's where you're at. Do you want to change any of that? Well, okay. Now you can't complain about not having time, because time has been rearranged literally over a very short duration. I sit here in my cluttered garage that I've rearranged, feels like a million times by now, and at one point it was full, like almost to the beams, with my aunt's stuff from a house she lived in, and she abandoned it, and my family went and boxed it up, brought it here, put it in the garage to store it. All that stuff sat there for over a decade, and then when I came home to help my family, that was one of the things that I addressed helping, which meant getting rid of a lot of stuff, figuring out what could be sold, and it took a few years to incrementally work through it, because when it started out, it was probably like, I don't know, 10 feet by 20, 25 feet in width and length. And then over 6 feet stored upward. So it was taller than me. Going through, there was just one little walkway from door to door, and then just boxes stacked up. And so I had to incrementally go through all those boxes and figure out what was in them. And it was a slow process. I felt accomplished when right now, if I moved a few more things, I could actually put my vehicle in the garage, which is awesome. But I'm not feeling that motivated right now. And the fact that I've worked through all of this stuff so many times, and now my stuff is added into it, and we're in a weird place where, like, I've got 5 bags to take to donation, but nobody is accepting donations right now. And so then I'm provoked almost to just start throwing things that don't belong in the trash into the trash. And we also make a lot of trash at my house, it seems. So I don't even think that we have the extra room in the trash can for things that don't belong in the trash. Isn't that the thing that this is, right? Like, people are going to just be figuring out what conflicts with itself, that we are in a catch-22 quite literally, up and down, all around, inside out. How do we get into alignment, maybe, with the best potential timeline? If you're one of those type of people, and I'm one of those type of people, I like to talk about timelines, weird shifts in frequency, what the heck is going on with the Schumann resonance, Mandela effects, aliens, God, second coming, all this stuff. If you compound it all together, we're in a mishmash of mush. I don't know where it's going to go or lead to. Some of it seems super predictable, so much so that I've been talking about it for years, and I'm like, see, I told you this was going to happen. So is that just my personal projection into the world? And then you get into simulation theory or living in this virtual reality, and maybe nothing exists at all except for you and what you're perceiving. And of course, then you feel right later with these predictions because it was just you all along anyway. That's fun. Nothing in my life has changed very much because of this. So if I seem flippant, that's probably why. Living in isolation and only going out for necessities in short durations of time, I've been doing this for years. It's not weird to me. Living with an old lady, yeah, you wash your hands when you come home. You don't sanitize all the boxes and everything like that. You make sure that you wash your hands when you come home. And then if your family members are I don't know, compassionate or aware of themselves, they'll realize when they aren't feeling well, and they'll say, hey, I know we planned on coming over this day, but we're not going to do that because we're not feeling well. My family does that. Why there is such a big problem in the world, I can't understand it, because I just have already been living like this. Nothing to brag about. It's just not a huge shift for me. And the shift happened so incrementally that by the time, like before, it was like I could leave my house for 3 to 4 hours in the beginning, and then now 2 hours is pushing it. Like, I try and get everything I need to get done in an hour and a half at tops. And part of that would be like swinging by my sister's house and saying hi to her and the kids, or popping by the thrift store to look for something. These things now are not happening in my life, and my errands take maybe a half hour, 45 minutes if I'm shopping, and then it's back home. I don't feel bad for people right now, because I think that having this happen teaches us something about ourselves and our interactions and our priorities. And that's good. I think people needed to break for a minute to have that experience, because we do live in a very go, go, go society. And we're always trying to distract ourselves from ourselves, our emotions, our feelings, all that stuff. I am by no means perfect as an individual, and I'm flawed every day. I can get hard on myself too, but when you use your insight and you look at what you're doing, like, something does shift, and it might not shift the way that you expect it to. Like, I want my shift to just completely make me a different person than I've ever been in my entire life. That's that's a really tough thing to ask for. Don't you imagine? I mean, I can organize, but I'm still a little bit messy, I can organize for others, but I'm disorganized for myself, and I find organization in my disorganization. We're all walking conflicts, and we're in a walking conflict that is telling you to stay still. It makes me want to just... get some clarity on some things, you know what I'm saying? Clarity seems to be what most people are seeking. Right now they have the time to research stuff, but it's not... If you're not inclined to researching things, if you're not inclined to spending your time doing stuff like that, right now you're trying to figure out what things that you used to like, and then you're going to try and revive them, and they might be successful, or you might just be like, this is the dumbest thing ever. Okay, well then now you have to reevaluate. So for me, I've always been kind of cyclical in my creativity and my research. The durations that I can hold focus have changed over time. I still like some of the stuff that I used to do, but I don't like it as much as I used to like it, in the sense of prioritizing for myself. Like, I would rather do research these days, or streaming, like talking to people, having conversations. I'd rather do that than default to writing in my journal or painting a picture, where before that would maybe be the stronger cycle that I would go through. So once you work through all the things that you used to like, and then you realize you don't like them the same way, then you have to ask yourself, like, what else you like, and test that out. Or what you might like that you haven't tried, test that out. What happens when you reach a point of despondency and you don't really like anything anymore? That is a real low point where people can get with depression and just being confused maybe with your environment and what you want for yourself. So then when you don't like anything anymore, that's really tough. It sucks. You can try and start projects and you just won't finish them. You might look at them and be like, that could be something awesome, but I just am not feeling it. I think this is important, where it's important if you do have good relationships with people, that you need to connect and build each other up. And if you're in a family, you're living with your family, maybe it's time to see who can teach you something new, right? To diversify and get out of a rut and explore how, like, you can even learn something from your small little children who aren't purposely trying to act like teachers. Pay attention to that stuff. See where it's at. What else? You can organize all day. It's never going to be good enough because somebody's going to mess it up or you're going to mess it up. And then it's like building yourself up to have an OCD for making everything aligned. Let's see. What else? What else about isolation people should know? Appreciate your animals and the people that you're quarantined with or whatever. Try and find the best in them and try and encourage yourself to find the best in yourself, because the amount of stress that this is creating in a subconscious way is existing like a bubble over places. And even if you don't think you're stressed, you're still picking up on it. That's my problem, is like none of this is new to me in decorum or whatever. But that's not necessarily true for the however many people live in the apartments across the street who, you never see this many cars on the block during the daytime because everybody's at work. But now they're not. All those people are caught in their little apartments, boxed in with 5, 6, 10, 12 other households right next to them with thin walls. It's low income. We know that there are generally a lot of issues that are kind of co-companions to low income people or situations. Those are the people I worry about. I worry about children not getting enough socialization right now, that they're only going to have this socialization with their peers through technology. My niece is 6. She doesn't have her own technology until this week, when she was able to get a tablet through the school district so that she can tune into her classes, because they don't see children going back to school this year. I've been on the internet since 1994. Now with my face, it was probably 1999 that I put my face on the internet with MySpace or AOL, maybe? Yeah, probably AOL. I can tell you that the virtual reality of connecting with people can fill a void for sure, but it's subpar to actually having human individuals that you enjoy the company of right in front of you. There's also something to be said about how we gain discernment as individuals being in human situations where we can vibe off of each other, which means whether it's, you had a great conversation and you walk away feeling invigorated, or you just sat with somebody who lied straight to your face and you knew it, but they wouldn't admit it. you can pick up these things when you're around people. And I think that with all this stuff, we have deep fakes online, all this, that we're basically probably deadening some senses in the children who are in developmental periods of their life right now, who do actually benefit from face-to-face contact with their teachers and peers. But what do I know? I'm definitely not a professional at anything. All right. Well, I've tried to stream this. I don't know. Doesn't appear anybody wants to watch this. Alright. Okay. Well, I'm gonna shut it down and maybe come back later. I hope that your day is well. I hope that the sun is shining, the skies are blue, you're not going crazy, and that you have wonderful companions around you that actually lead you to the conclusion that this is the best thing that could ever happen to people. Not that I want to support the whole, you need to, if you're going to go out, you need to walk around with masks and gloves on. Humanity is not a virus, okay? Humanity is not a virus. Let's not treat it like it is. I hope that all the blessings, all the goodness come to you in this time of awkward, right? Like, oh yeah, that awkward time in 2020 where everybody was flipped upside down and didn't know what to do. Wow. Good times, fun sauce. I love you all. And remember, if you want to check out the music that was playing in the background, Alessandro Murasu, Stances Lost in the Bathroom. It's a good album. You should check it out. Goodbye.